Okay, today's video is about polynomial review, combining like terms and such, and monomial rules. So the first thing we're going to look at is adding and subtracting polynomials. So this first one you'll notice is adding polynomials. So what we do is, since we're adding them, we don't have to do anything with the parentheses. There's no distributing. So we can just write it out the way we see it. And like terms are defined as something with the same base and exponent. So 4x squared and 2x squared will be like terms. They'll be combined together to get 6x squared. Then negative 7x and negative 3x will be combined together to get negative 10x. And then there's nothing like the plus 2, so we just put it on the end. Now in number 2, you'll see that we're distributing, or that we have a minus. So we do have to actually distribute this negative to each of these two things in the second set of parentheses. So we get 4x plus 1 minus 2x plus 5. We need to combine our like terms again. 4x and negative 2x gives us 2x. And 1 and 5 gives us 6. So then we have distributed the negative and combined our like terms to get our final answer of 2x plus 6. We have two rules when multiplying monomials. The first rule is to multiply coefficients. Which coefficients are the numbers in front. And then the second part of our rule is to add exponents with like bases. Now we're going to do some examples of those. So here on this first one, you'll notice we don't have any coefficients to multiply. We just have x to the fifth and x to the third, which means we have 5 x's and 3 x's. So we're going to add these exponents together. 5 plus 3 gives us x to the 8. And we can add those together because they both have bases of x. Looking at number 4, you'll notice we do have coefficients. So we have to multiply our 2 times our 3 first. 2 times 3 is 6. Then we want to deal with our x's. We have 2 x's and 4 x's. Remember, x squared is x times x, and x to the fourth is x times x times x times x. So then total we have 6 x's, so x to the 6th. Same thing on 5 and 6. We have 2 times negative 3 to get negative 6. And we have a single x here. Remember, if there's no exponent there, it's an automatic 1. And 1 plus 5 is x to the 6th. On number 6, we need to multiply the big numbers first. So 6 and negative 3 gives us negative 18. But now we have a lot of different exponents or variables with exponents. So we have x to the 4th and then x to the 1st. 4 plus 1 is x to the 5th. Y to the 3rd and y to the 5th. 3 plus 5 is y to the 8th. And then z has nothing to go with it, so we just bring it down, and it is y to the 1st. You can write a 1 if you want, but you don't have to. All right, we have two rules for raising a power to a power. First rule is to give everything an exponent. And then our second rule is to distribute, which when we distribute, the math operation that we do is multiply. The exponent to everything in the parentheses. Okay, our first step is to make sure everything has an exponent. Looking at number 7, it does. So we're going to distribute the 3 to the 4. When we distribute, we multiply, so we get x to the 12th. On number 8, you see that the 2 and the x, neither of them have an exponent written on them, so we're going to go ahead and write that in, and write in a little 1 on each of them. That way we remember to distribute the 4 to both of them. So we get 2 to the 4th and x to the 4th. We can actually evaluate 2 to the 4th. 2 to the 4th power means 2 times itself 4 times, which gives us 16. X to the 4th. Number 9, Same thing, make sure you give exponents to the things that don't have them, 3 and the x. And then we want to distribute the 5 to everything inside. So then with this one, we're going to make sure we do the -3 in the parentheses because we want to make sure the -3, the whole thing is raised to the 5th power. X to the 5th, y to the 10th. If you do -3 to the 5th power in the calculator, you will get -243. X to the 5th and y to the 10th both stay the way that they are. On number 10, don't forget, let's draw in our exponents that we have. We want to distribute. At any point you want to pause this and try these and then see how you do, that's fine. 3 squared, p squared, q to the 4th. We can evaluate 3 squared. It's 9. P squared, q to the 4th. On number 11 and 12, how about pause the video and try these and see how you do on them, and then I will write them out and explain them. All right, hopefully you pause the video. So let's distribute here the 2 to both of these. So we get x to the 6th, y to the 8th. And then on number 12, we can't forget to write in our little exponents. And we need to distribute the 4. So we get x to the 4th, y to the 12th. So now we're putting those rules together. So don't forget, the very first thing you should do on all of these is always to give the exponents to the things on the inside, then distribute what's on the outside. There's nothing to distribute on the second set, so we get 2 squared, x to the 6th, y to the 3rd, and we can evaluate 2 squared and get 4, x to the 6th, y to the 3rd. On the next one, yet again, you want to make sure you share your exponents, or make sure everything on the inside has exponents first. Then we want to distribute. We've got to distribute twice. So we've got 2 different things to distribute. So I get -2 squared, x to the 6th, -4 to the 3rd, x to the 3rd, y to the 3rd. I know you're asking yourself why, when it's negative, am I putting it in parentheses, whereas when it's positive, I'm not. When it's negative, you need to make sure that it's doing the whole thing squared. So it's going to do -2 times -2, not 2 times 2 and then times it by the -1. If you do it without the negative in the parentheses, it will give you the wrong answer. So like if you typed in your calculator without the parentheses, it's going to give you -4, whereas this actual answer is +4 because -2 times -2 is +4. Then we have x to the 6th. Here with our -4 to the 3rd power gives us -64. Remember, this is still multiplying. X to the 3rd, y to the 3rd, but we can still combine some more like terms. So we can do the 4 and the -64 times each other and get -256. And then we can do the x's together. X to the 6th, x to the 3rd gives us x to the 9th. And then there's nothing to go with the y, so it just comes straight down. All right, the last one's a little bit challenging, so if you want to pause and try it, you can. If you want to just wait for me to go over it, that's fine as well. All right, if you paused the video, welcome back. If you didn't, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and draw in my 1s. And then I'm going to distribute out my exponents. So I get -4 squared, a to the 4th, b to the 6th, 2 to the 3rd, a to the 6th, b to the 3rd. Now I need to put my numbers together, or actually I need to simplify so I can put some stuff together. -4 squared is 16. A to the 4th, b to the 6th, 2 to the 3rd is 8. A to the 6th, b to the 3rd. And you can actually have put those a's and b's together if you wanted to before. So now I'm going to do 16 times 8 and get 128. A to the 4th and a to the 6th and get a to the 10th. And then b to the 6th and b to the 3rd and get b to the 9th. Our next set of rules are for dividing monomials. First rule, or first part, is to divide the coefficients. So those numbers in front, make sure you divide them. And then the next piece is to subtract the exponents. With like bases. They have to go, the bases have to go together just like they did with multiplying. First thing we're going to look at on number 16, there are no coefficients, so we don't have to divide anything. We just need to subtract our exponents. So we look at the a's first, here first. 3 minus 4 is going to give you a to the negative 1. And look at the b's next, b to the 5th and b to the 2nd. 5 minus 2 is going to give you b to the 3rd. Now, we can't have that negative exponent, but we will come back and deal with that in a little bit. You're going to actually end up moving it, but we'll come back and deal with it after we talk about what to do with negative exponents. All right, number 17, first thing you want to look at is your coefficients in the front, 5 and 15. So what goes into 5 and 15? Because we can't, 5 isn't divisible by 15, so we need to figure out how to simplify that fraction. What goes into both of them? 5. So it gives you 1/3. Then we need to subtract the exponents. So we have x, we have 6 and 4. So 6 minus 4 is x to the 2nd. And then with the y's, 9 minus 2 is y to the 7th. The other way to write this is to write that x squared and y to the 7th on top and the 3 on the bottom. You can write the 1 in front if you would like. Either of these is an acceptable way to write this answer. All right, looking at number 18, we need to do the coefficients first. 6 over negative 8. What number goes into both of them? 2. So it's going to be 3 over negative 4. So then we want to look at our a's. 2 and 5. 2 take away 5 is a to the negative 3. b's, 6 and 4. 6 take away 4 is b to the 2nd. And c's, 8 take away 7 is c to the 1st power. You don't have to write the 1, but you can. Yet again, we'll come back and deal with that negative exponent in a little bit. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is the 0 exponent. And the only rule here is that anything to the 0 power is 1. No matter what, anything to the 0 power equals 1. So we're going to try these. There's a few examples, and they're pretty basic. So since anything to the 0 power is 1, 4 to the 0 power is 1. X to the 0 power is 1. And all this mess, no matter what it is, you can simplify it if you want, but it's all to the 0 power, so it means it equals 1. We don't have to do any actual work there because everything in there is to the 0 power. Last rule is that negative exponents, we can't have them. Can't have negative exponents. So what we do is we move them, move to the opposite part of the fraction. And I'll show you some examples of what that means. Okay, so looking at our first one, we have x squared over x to the negative 3. So with division, remember we subtract these, so it's going to be 2 minus negative 3. Well, that minus minus goes to a plus, so it becomes 5. So this becomes x to the 5th. The other way to do it is to take and write the x to the negative 3 on top, but you'll see that in a minute. All right, number 23, same thing. We need to do 3 minus negative 5, which is going to give us positive 8. So we get x to the positive 8. And then negative 2 minus 1, which gives us negative 3. So we get y to the negative 3. Well, this is that negative exponent that we can't have. So what we need to do is everything has an imaginary fraction bar underneath it. To make it a fraction, you just put a 1 underneath it. So what we need to do is anything that has a negative exponent needs to move to the opposite part of the fraction. So x to the 8 has a positive exponent, so it gets to stay on the top of the fraction. But y to the negative 3 is negative, so it needs to move to the bottom to become positive. We like to say that it means that they're unhappy with where they are, so that's why we have to move them to the opposite part of the fraction. All right, let's look at number 24. So 3 take away 2 is going to give us a to the 1st. Negative 2 oh, it's not letting me write. Okay. So negative 2 minus 2 is going to give me negative 4. So it's going to be b to the negative 4. And then c is going to be 5 minus negative 3. So that goes to plus. So that becomes an 8. So it's c to the 8th power. So now the only thing that's unhappy is that b. So remember, we can make this a fraction. So a is positive, so it stays up top. B is negative, so it moves to the bottom to become positive. And C is positive, so it stays up top. So there's our final answer. All right, now we're going to go back to 16 and 18 and deal with the negative exponents that were there. So go back up in your notes, and that'll be the last thing we do. Okay, so let's look at fixing these. So we know we have a to the negative 1, which we can't have, so we're going to make our fraction. So it's negative, so it moves to the bottom to become positive, but b to the third is already positive, so it stays up top. Fit 17 is fine, but let's look at 18. We already have a fraction here because we have 3 over negative 4, so we can go ahead and keep that fraction. A to the negative 3, it's negative, so it needs to move to the bottom. B squared is positive, so it stays up top, and C to the first is positive, so it also stays up top. So there's our final answer here. Hopefully these helped out, and you are going to do some practice in class. Have a good day.